Right now, the night sky over the Middle East is glowing with the terrifying light of multiple ballistic missiles, and the ground is quite literally shaking. We are witnessing an unprecedented massive escalation in the war between Israel and Iran, and the footage coming out of the region tonight is absolutely apocalyptic. Sirens are blaring across major metropolitan areas, massive explosions are tearing through residential neighborhoods, and the highly advanced layers of the Israeli air defense network are being pushed to their absolute breaking point. Iran has officially launched another devastating missile strike directly towards central Israel, but this time the military assessments are pointing to a horrifying new reality. Initial reports and impact patterns suggest that the ballistic missiles raining down carried cluster bomb warheads. For those who might not know, a cluster munition is not just a single massive explosion. It is a highly lethal warhead designed to break apart high in the sky and disperse multiple smaller submunitions over a massive wide area. This violently increases the spread of the damage, turning entire neighborhoods and highways into indiscriminate impact zones. Late in the evening, the terrifying wail of air raid sirens triggered panic across multiple cities in central Israel. Almost immediately, viral videos began circulating online showing massive raging fires following the missile impacts. You can see flames and thick black smoke rising directly from residential areas. Emergency responders were scrambling in the dark, reporting significant damage at a minimum of 3 separate locations across central Israel following the massive attack. One of the direct impacts sparked a massive blaze right on the roof of a building in the quiet town of Shoham. Another devastating impact left a massive smoking crater sitting right in the middle of a major highway, while several vehicles were completely destroyed and ripped apart by shrapnel in the city of Rishon LeZion. The scattered, chaotic nature of these impact sites is entirely consistent with the terrifying pattern you would expect from a cluster munition strike. Miraculously, despite the sheer scale of the damage, authorities stated there were no immediate reports of fatal injuries in these specific central areas, as first responders reached the affected zones with incredible speed to secure the impact sites. But this strike on central Israel was just one piece of a much larger terrifying puzzle. It marked the 6th separate missile attack launched towards Israel since midnight alone. This reflects the absolute relentless pace of the Iranian missile barrages, as this regional conflict rapidly expands out of control. The absolute worst of the devastation happened in northern Israel. Zazir, a city located around 100 kilometers north of Jerusalem and sitting dangerously close to the volatile border with Lebanon, sustained massive catastrophic damage in the overnight Iranian onslaught. Shortly before 2:30 in the morning, the sleeping residents of Zazir woke up to the deafening, terrifying roar of Iranian ballistic missiles, physically penetrating the multiple layers of the highly touted Israeli air defenses and making a direct, catastrophic impact. 7 heavily equipped firefighting teams were immediately dispatched to the scene the second the missile struck a residential structure. The sheer force of the blast ripped through the neighborhood, heavily damaging nearby homes and sparking a localized inferno. The casualty numbers here are grim. The Magen David Adom ambulance service confirmed that nearly 60 people suffered injuries in this specific Iranian barrage. Israeli media reported that one of the barrages achieved a direct hit on 3 separate buildings, causing significant structural damage and absolute chaos. Out of the victims, 57 people sustained minor injuries, largely from the lethal glass shards that exploded through their windows when the shockwaves hit. One woman in her 30s was moderately wounded after being violently struck in her back by flying shrapnel. She was rushed to the Rambam Medical Center in Haifa, while dozens of other bleeding and traumatized victims were evacuated to the Har Emek Medical Center in Afula and the Italian hospital in Nazareth. The footage shared by news agencies at the scene looks like an absolute war zone. It shows severely damaged homes, crushed vehicles, and a massive, terrifying crater blown straight into the ground. The local council head Atef Grifat surveyed the smoking ruins of his city and stated that heavy damage was recorded across the site, with one of the residential houses being completely, utterly destroyed. The human stories emerging from this are chilling. One resident described the sheer terror of the moment, stating that half of the houses in the area were damaged and that missiles were literally exploding directly onto the homes. Another eyewitness detailed a near-death experience, saying they were leaving their uncle's house in a vehicle when the massive missile hit the house right next to them. They felt the entire roof of their vehicle violently crushed down on top of them from the sheer force of the blast. Another resident simply said, "I was at home and everything in the house fell apart. Everything was destroyed." The Israel Defense Forces immediately deployed the Homefront Command Forces, bringing in both regular and reserve troops to operate in full coordination with emergency organizations. They locked down the impact site, conducting an urgent situation assessment while frantically clearing the heavy debris. But the nightmare did not end there. This massive strike occurred during a night of repeated, non-stop alerts across northern Israel. The IDF was constantly detecting multiple fresh launches originating directly from Iran. And to make this a truly overwhelming multi-front assault, the warning sirens were also blaring due to massive rocket fire pouring in from Lebanon. In a highly coordinated strategic move designed to completely overwhelm and break the Iron Dome, Hezbollah launched more than 200 rockets directly into Israel at the exact same time as the Iranian ballistic missiles were falling. Even the southernmost tip of the country was not safe. Sirens wailed in the southern port city of Eilat, following the launch of yet another Iranian ballistic missile. While initial assessments suggest that specific missile was likely intercepted without causing injuries, it proves that Iran is targeting the absolute entirety of the Israeli landmass, from the far north to the deep south. So what exactly is Iran firing? The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has proudly released propaganda footage showing what they claim is the 42nd wave of missile launches under their massive ongoing military campaign, ominously named Operation True Promise 4. The video shows multiple heavy ballistic missiles violently blasting into the night sky, with chants echoing in the background. According to the IRGC's own boasting statements, this massive barrage included several of the most dangerous and advanced missiles in their entire arsenal. We are talking about the EMAD, the Qadr, the Khaybar Shekan, and the highly advanced Fateh missile. They even deployed swarms of suicide drones alongside the ballistic missiles to further confuse and overwhelm the radar systems. But it gets even more terrifying. Within hours of the first strikes, Iran announced a 43rd wave of attacks under a brand new operation codenamed O Severe in Punishment. Iran explicitly claims that this specific attack did not just target strategic locations inside Israel like Tel Aviv and Eilat. They proudly announced that they were directly targeting the United States Navy's 5th Fleet Base and other highly sensitive American military facilities operating in the region. The weapons reportedly used in this specific assault included the absolutely massive Khorramshahr ballistic missiles. These are not your average rockets. These are some of the most powerful, devastating weapons in Iran's entire arsenal, and they carry a terrifying 2-ton warhead. Think about the sheer destructive capability of a 2-ton bomb slamming into a city at supersonic speeds. Officials stated that additional missiles involved in the strike included Qadr missiles loaded with multiple warheads, as well as Imad and Khaybar Shekan missiles carrying massive 1-ton payloads. And they did not stop there. Soon after, the IRGC announced the 44th wave of operations, targeting even deeper inside Israeli territory, specifically aiming their heavy missiles at Kiryat Shmona and the critical port city of Haifa. But if you think Israel is just sitting back and taking this massive bombardment, you are completely mistaken. Israel has unleashed a massive, devastating wave of extensive retaliatory strikes directly into the heart of Tehran. While central Israel was burning, massive explosions were actively ripping through the Iranian capital of Tehran and the nearby city of Karaj. The IDF officially confirmed that they launched several waves of highly coordinated airstrikes deep inside Iranian territory, striking Tehran, Shiraz, and Afaz. They directly hit several highly sensitive Iranian military sites. One of the primary targets was a massive subterranean ballistic missile manufacturing and storage site. The Israeli military stated that the underground fortress in Shiraz was actively being used by Iran to manufacture and stockpile the exact same ballistic missiles that were currently being launched toward the state of Israel. Israel decided to cut the head off the snake and blow the factory to pieces. In Avaz, the IDF went straight for the leadership. They completely leveled several headquarters belonging to various Iranian regime bodies, explicitly targeting the IRGC ground forces and Iran's internal security forces. The military proudly confirmed that dozens of Iranian soldiers and operatives were actively working at the headquarters right at the moment they were obliterated from the sky. The situation right now remains incredibly fluid and highly volatile. Both sides are currently locked in a brutal, escalating exchange of massive heavy payload strikes. The war between Israel and Iran is no longer a shadow war fought through proxies. It is completely out in the open, and it is violently threatening to widen across the entire Middle East. With wave after wave of heavy ballistic missiles now being launched from both sides, the sheer panic and fear are growing by the minute. We are watching a regional war unfold in real time. We are seeing two massive military powers taking the gloves off and throwing everything they have at each other, from cluster munitions to 2-ton ballistic warheads to deep underground bunker-busting airstrikes. The entire region is sitting on a knife's edge, and one single miscalculation could drag the entire globe into a catastrophic conflict. What do you think is going to happen next? Will the Israeli strikes on the Iranian missile factories force the IRGC to back down, or will Iran continue to launch these massive multi-ton ballistic missiles until a full-scale regional war is completely unavoidable? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below.